the first time in more than 2 months.
With politicians from across the country descending on a COVID-free capital.
For the first time, those who can't make it to Canberra can take part via video link.
I'd like to formally welcome our colleagues attending remotely for the first time.
Coronavirus has robbed us all of our sense of control over our lives, and as Federal Parliament returned today, questions over just who is in control were central.
It's important that we meet to assert our hope for the future.
The questions started with a fundamental one of whether, under the cloud of COVID, the government can cancel Parliament whenever it wants, as it did earlier this month.
It remains the case that the government cannot unilaterally cancel a sitting of the Senate.
Senate President Scott Ryan was taking a pointed stand against his own government for the independence of the Parliament. He has a point. As things stand, federal and state bureaucrats currently have effective control over who can and can't come to Canberra. Everyone understands the current circumstances, but this could set a dangerous precedent.
Huge amounts of money of Commonwealth funds are being spent without appropriate scrutiny, and that is of great concern to Australians.
And there are lots of questions for the Parliament to consider about who is in control in these out-of-control times. Particularly the one of who is in control and who is responsible for aged care.
258 care recipients have passed away.
Minister, you weren't aware of that number?
I have got the details, I just couldn't find it at your hand, I'm sorry.
Minister, how many residents have COVID-19 today?
Again, Senator, I don't have the report with the actual detail in front of me.
For this government, the buck never stops. No one's responsible. No one's responsible.
We do not claim infallibility. We do not pretend to perfect information, foresight or results in this pandemic.
I should have had the data on Friday and I apologise for not having done that.
Parliament is convening this week as the conflicting pressures of a health and economic crisis, which are now clearly going to be with us for some time, are bubbling over. While there are signs the crisis in Victoria is slowly subsiding, outbreaks in other states are feeding into arguments that, at some point, the tough lockdowns are going to have to give way to economic necessity.
Prime Minister, what will you do as the national leader to resolve this border crisis?
The federal government is no fan of state borders and has been stepping up pressure on the states to bring them down, issuing grim economic forecasts of their impact and reminding everyone of their cost.
The Morrison government has provided an unprecedented level of support in response to COVID-19. Some $314 billion, or 15.8% of GDP. Now that's in contrast, Mr Speaker, to the states who have provided around $48 billion worth of support.
But the reality is that federal economic support will start winding down from the end of September. That makes sense if the economy is recovering, but it is going to particularly hurt in Victoria. Even with the state in greater corona turmoil than the rest of the country, Victorian voters have been confronted by another apparent expose of political parties behaving badly. 2 months ago, 3 state Labor ministers lost their jobs over branch stacking allegations centred on Small Business Minister Adam Somyurek. Now it is the Liberals' turn, with 60 Minutes broadcasting damning leaked recordings and messages about alleged branch stacking in the party's Victorian branch.
You can't change it. That's politics.
The revelations circle around Victorian backroom operator Marcus Bastian rather than a government minister, but they do drag in federal figures, Assistant Treasurer Michael Sukkar and long-serving MP Kevin Andrews. The allegation is that members of Bastian's faction were working on branch stacking operations while employed as taxpayer-funded staff in Mr Andrews' office. The investigation does not allege that Mr Sukkar was actively involved in any branch stacking, although he does appear to have benefited from it and is alleged to have endorsed a memo setting out the plan. Mr Bastian has rejected allegations of branch stacking, but today resigned from the Liberal Party. Mr Andrews has denied the suggestion he was coerced into staff appointments and has called in the Department of Finance to review staffing in his office. Mr Sukkar has also denied any wrongdoing. The Prime Minister says it's a matter for the party. Allegations of the use of taxpayer-funded staff to run party matters is, unfortunately, a perennial one.
We need a National Integrity Commission that would be empowered to review this and investigate it if there is, I think, a misuse of those resources.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.